Hey good people, hope you're well. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Like I promised, I'm going to be doing more videos, and today we are doing a video on interview skills. On set I have Joan, the career coach. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'll let her introduce herself. We all watch her on social media. I watch her reels. I'm always there watching whatever she's posting in terms of HR and the things she talks about. I really do enjoy your content.
Thank you very much.
So welcome on set. You give a brief introduction. Your background. Me, I know her as the go-to for anything HR.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here.
Welcome.
My name is Joan, commonly known as Joan the career coach. I'm a career coach, so basically what I do is I work with individuals, helping them to increase the chances that they land a job. And I do this by helping them with their CVs, their LinkedIn profiles, their cover letters, helping them to prepare for interviews, career counseling, and career coaching. So basically anything that someone needs to do to increase their chances of landing a job, that's what I do.
Okay. So did you, were you in HR before you branched to a career coach?
Yes, so I studied psychology when I was in campus and specialized in a branch of psychology called industrial psychology. So industrial psychology is a branch of psychology that deals with matching people with their right careers and their right jobs.
Okay.
Yes, so I did that, and then I've worked in HR before. I decided to branch out. So, HR is something that I really love to do, I enjoy to do, and the part of HR that I really loved most was talent acquisition, or, what people would call recruitment. So I worked for some years in recruitment. So by the time I was branching off, I was coming prepared with knowledge, because then I was sitting on this other side. Yes.
Yeah, you other guys, we used to be very careful for interviews and looking for jobs. Yes, Joan. Yes.
And one of the things that sparked is I could see very many talented people, but then I could see that they're missing out on jobs because of very tiny things. And that's where that spark for trying to help people increase their chances, because there are so many people who are talented but they have a bad CV, so many people who are talented but they don't know how to present themselves during interviews. So like working very closely with individuals to now help them increase the chances that they land the offer.
Okay, so you work one-on-one. That's very good. So what she mentioned, I also see it a lot. You work so hard in school, you study hard, you get the grade, you have the technical skills, but then you lack the soft skills, to complete that package. So that at the end of the day, you have to package yourself to be able to get the job, to land the job of your dreams. The market is this competition. We can't deny that. It's putting your best foot forward. So are you always putting your best foot forward? And I think there are skills, and Joan, I'll be honest, when I finished university, I graduated, there's no one who taught us these soft skills. No one taught you how to prepare for an interview, how to dress, your hairstyle, and all these soft skills. So yes, we had the papers, we had a good attitude, but then we didn't have these soft skills to complete the package, and that's what we're going to talk about today: interview skills. And Joan does it very well on her social media. She always gives snippets here and there. I know you can't, there's so much, you can't do it all at a go, but I love the fact that even if sometimes I may not have that money to afford your services for now, you get to learn something. You never leave her page without learning something. I learn every day, and I'm working on my LinkedIn profile. That is my December work. I know I owe you that. I need to do my homework. So today we're going to talk about interview skills, and Joan is going to take us through. I'll talk about my angle of being an image consultant, interview etiquette. These are also the things I teach people, I talk about. And next year I'll be doing more of that. How to dress, how to sit, how to a handshake, those soft skills. But Joan today is going to speak about her perspective being on the other side. If I was to walk in and you were interviewing me, what are those things you just want to that you feel like you have the skills, but then you're missing out on this to be able to land that job that you want? So you can take us through on before the interview, what you should do before, during the interview, and after.
Right. So having sat on the other side of interviews, as I said at the beginning, I was able to pick so many mistakes that people, that people make, and I think it's very important that we break it down, before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. So what are some of the things that you need to do before the interview, to increase the chances that you land the offer? And the first thing that is so critical is doing your research. I have seen so many candidates come for interviews and they have no clue. Like you're coming for an interview for an oil and gas company and you think, it's a pharmaceutical. You see how already... Yeah.
No, Joan, no.
No, but it's
you
true.
Cannot think.
So, like you didn't do your research at all. So that tells me you have no clue. Like you probably, I don't know, like heard of the job, or but you clearly don't have any clue. Or sometimes what happens is you send your applications to so many organizations.
Okay.
So you're not even sure which one called you for the interview. So you just show up. But yeah,
that's a new one.
But yes, so doing the research about that organization, which industry, what's their culture like?
Their ethos. What is their statement? What are they called?
The vision and vision.
The vision and mission statement.
Yes, yes. What values? What's the company culture like? These things are going to go a long way in helping you prepare for the interview, because then if you understand the culture of this organization, what is in the heart of the organization, then there are certain things that you want to say during the interview that would make you stand out, because then it resonates with someone in the panel. Not doing the research about like that organization can be it can really harm your chances, because then it's going to be very difficult for you to connect with people in the like in the panel. So the first thing before the interview is you need to do your research. Yeah, and I'm sure you've also done interviews. I don't know if you've ever interviewed someone, then they came for the interview and you were like,
I haven't experienced it, but I can. You're right. There's that probability where you've sent so many CVs, you're job hunting, and then you don't know which company called you. But I feel like when they call you for the interview, you would kindly find out.
Exactly.
May I ask, after the end of the conversation, could I kindly ask which company is calling me, who am I speaking to? So to prepare. And I think maybe it's during the time I grew up and then there was no internet, you would beg your parents for 100 shillings to go to the cyber, because remember, to just do some research to understand. And then we didn't even know they were called ethos, culture, mission statement. We just wanted to know a little bit about the even meeting. You'd even look and see, try in your contacts, whoever you know. Who do you know that
works in that company or knows someone who works?
We used to do those, just background check. I think it's very important.
It is. It's the very first thing.
Okay.
Then the second thing is you don't want to go for any interview before you've done the market research in terms of, for this position, when they ask that question, what is your salary expectation, you need to have a number. So doing your also the research about salaries is going to help you know what salary to quote, because one of the questions that normally throws people off balance is that question for what is your salary expectation. And there are people who will say, you just give me anything. There are people who will overquote, there are people who will underquote, and all these things are, might be, dangerous for, for you. So you really need to also do the market research and see for this role in different industries, how much do they pay?
And benchmark.
Yeah, exactly.
And know where you're pitching.
Exactly, exactly.
And would you suggest, for example, to maybe align your duties and your roles and to align what I'm bringing to the organization to be able to give you a bargaining power.
Right.
You can't just ask for a certain figure and on your CV, or when you're having the discussion, you've not shown what am I bringing to the table so that I'm able to be paid this amount of money. Exactly.
That's actually a very good point. You need to know your value proposition. So you've had X numbers of years of experience, you've done these certifications, and this is your background and this is what you can bring to the table. Now, what do you believe you're worth? Because you see, what you believe you're worth might be different from the market research, and that should not stop you from saying this is what my worth is because of XYZ. So that's a very good point that you've said, knowing what your value is and comparing that with the market research to be able to give a very good number.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's always negotiation. I think negotiation is always involved.
Yes.
And everyone is on their side and trying to balance their side and paying. So I think negotiation skills is important. I think it's something I'm sure you do coach people on negotiation skills.
Yes, it's actually a skill, a very important skill that you cannot afford not to have. Because if you do not negotiate for your salary, it means you might walk away from that interview with a bad deal. And this is going to affect the whole of your career. Yeah.
And how you deliver the job, motivation. When you go and find out, I would have gotten this.
Imagine,
you're not happy.
And you can't almost quit, because then now, how will you say in another interview that 2 days, like you are here for like 2 days?
Right. And it can happen, Joan.
Yeah,
it does happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 2. No market research on pay.
Yes.
Before?
Yes, so before, especially now after COVID, so many interviews are being done virtually.
Yes,
as opposed to, like the one-on-one interview. And of course, the passing a Zoom interview is somewhat different if from a one-on-one interview, because you see, if it's a one-on-one interview, I can see you, I can be able to read your body language, I can be able to know I should say this, maybe I shouldn't say this, maybe
facial expressions.
Exactly. It's more personal as opposed to a virtual interview.
Okay.
It means it's more difficult to pass a Zoom interview as it is a one-on-one interview, because then it removes that
emotional connection.
Exactly. So you really need to prepare for this virtual interview to increase the chances that they remember you. And you see, during a Zoom interview, so many things can go wrong. Electricity can go, or like your machine, your laptop can just decide on that day, like the devil is a liar, on that day during the interview.
Internet. That's internet. Twitter is down.
Exactly.
Remember that day when the internet was down, Twitter?
The whole, like all those, like social media platforms. Yeah. Or that's the day you forgot to charge your machine, your laptop goes off. That's the day why your Wi-Fi will be acting up. So you really need to make sure that you have like a checklist of the things that you need to have. So before your Zoom interview, you want to make sure that you have you have a backup for the machine. For Wi-Fi, for Wi-Fi you have data. Then the other thing is you also want to ensure where you're seated, there's enough light coming in. You don't want to go for a Zoom interview and it's a blackout and no one can see you.
They can't see you.
Yeah, they can't see you. If you're seated in a place where it's well lit, then they can see you, and that connection is much better. So if you're seated, you want to sit a place where the light is coming directly at you, and not, if the light is behind you, then you're going to be very dark.
Okay.
Yes, so you want to be seated in a place that's well lit, and you want to test it. So you can test it with a friend, like do a Zoom interview with a friend and ask them, can you see me clearly? Am I audible enough? Is the angle okay? Because if I hold the phone like over here, then the angle, someone is just seeing my chin.
Yeah, and keep looking down.
Yeah, or if it's also like too high, yeah, you're straining. So you want to test that Zoom before the actual interview. You're testing the audio, you're testing the visual, you're testing the light, also the connectivity, that everything is working, and this is before the interview.
Also another point is noise. Ensure you're not in a very noisy place. For example, you can be living in an apartment block. You can't control everything. Yeah. So sometimes when the children are home, there's that noise. You could request maybe a friend or to go somewhere quiet so that you don't have distractions. You're already very nervous.
Right.
So any distraction
will
then throw you off.
Exactly.
Mommy, or
yeah.
Like for that 1 hour, try and find the best you can, what's available to you.
Yes.
Less distractions, the better.
Yes, that is actually a very good point. And then the other thing that I forgot to say is the background. I've actually gone on an interview with someone, and then on the background you're seeing Nivea and cologne and and clothes. So and maybe they just did not
know.
They didn't know,
That's a good
honestly.
one.
Like they honestly didn't know. Yeah. So kuna Nivea behind and
Thank God see like goes
Or-
Thank God.
yeah, or like like a wardrobe, then they forgot to close the wardrobe. So wherever you're seated, close all the doors. Like if you can have a plain background,
Neat as possible.
yeah, the better. You don't take the Zoom interview outside, because you see there are cars and birds chirping and everything going on. So honestly, you're not going to look like a serious person. So ensure that it's indoors. It's a well-lit place. It's quiet, as you've said. Eliminate all the background noises. We don't want to hear juice being blended and sufurias dropping, and
And you see the other side, those you see, so you have this other hard skills but also soft skills come to play.
They are very important. Then the other I think the last point for some of the things that you can do before the interview. So go through your documents. So there's the CV that the panel there's a CV that they have.
Okay.
The CV that you send them, because nowadays people have like 5 versions of the CV.
Why?
Like so if now, for example, you're applying for an administrative role, those skills can be transferable to a customer service role.
Okay.
But you see how those 2 CVs cannot be one and the same, because then you're going to highlight certain things in the admin CV that are not going to be there in the customer service CV. So you want to ensure that you have gone through your own CV. Can you imagine you've come for an interview, then I ask you, so Catherine, between 2011 and 2012, you've written that you did XYZ, and you cannot even remember, and it's your heartburn, chest pains.
If Joan was asking me. Okay.
You see how it can be tricky.
I just say thank you for having me. Covering that.
Okay. How do you get back? Like,
getting back would be hard.
It's difficult. It will be difficult. So you want to study the CV to ensure there's nothing that they're going to ask you and you're caught off guard. Or you came to Joan meeting CV and I did your CV. And maybe there's certain things that I put on the CV that you do not you're not aware of. So maybe it's written that you can speak French, for example. Then I'm like, bonjour Catherine, comment tu t'appelles?
Je m'appelle. Look at how I'm such a late for phone. I feel like I'm ready to You're giving me an answer. So this is me not a real interview, so you can imagine. But I'm too old for this, I'm sorry.
So you need to study, you need to study your CV, internalize it, let them not ask you a question and you're not able to back it up. If you've said you can speak French, please make sure you can speak French. If you've said it's it's an advanced level, then you need to know how to speak it, because then some people would say basic, and it's okay if you cannot speak it.
You're not very
well.
fluent, but you understand the basics.
Like 1, 2, 3 things. Then also study the job description, because they're not going to ask you anything outside of that JD or job description.
Okay.
If you study and internalize the job description, and then you study your own CV and try and see what's the connection between my skills, my experience, my value, and this job that I'm applying to, it's going to be very difficult for you not to pass that interview. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the before the interview.
Yes.
My little before the interview, to just now, you see what she said, all those things, you've gone to the market, pitched, done research, pay, align your skills to the job on offer. Mine is before the interview. Please go to the website, find out their dress code. Okay, because different industries have different dress codes.
Right.
They even have colors.
Right.
There are colors for interview,
Right.
which is for another day. I will do that.
Yes.
A video like colors for interview, color that endear you to the interviewee. So those kind of things, ensure you dress well. It's always better to be underdressed than overdressed for an interview.
Yes.
Please, all your bangs, your pink wigs, blue, all those. there's Joan at work and there's Joan socially. Please bring the Joan at work, bring that side of you, because we all have different sides. Right. It's good for me to see you're at the other side of you, but it's not very necessary in an interview. Right. So if you could just try and nothing too screaming, nothing too crazy, jewelry, polite jewelry. Right. We don't need to bring all the jewelry you own in the interview. We don't need to see too much skin. Right. Ensure that you're comfortable, because when you're not comfortable with how you're dressed, then you will have the pulling, brass strap and all those things which you always mention on your socials. So how you dress, because when you're comfortable with how you look and how you dress, and you'll be confident in the interview, then now you'll be able to focus on your CV, what you're bringing to the table. But now if I'm not comfortable and not dressed well, I don't feel confident. Now I'm here trying to remember what did I not do? Yeah, exactly. So I think that's also something to consider, how you dress. Get there on time. Right. Google the venue of the place. Right. Please don't get there late. If you need there's a long walking distance, wear flat shoes, have wipes, wipe yourself the dust, ensure, grooming is a big part of it. It is. Grooming is a big part of it. Yeah. Definitely Zoom, even Zoom, please. Yeah. Don't join with pajamas. Once, even at home, you don't need to dress up too much, but just be comfortable, dress well, so that you see, then your mental, your mindset is my game face is on. I am ready to do the interview. So I think that's also on my side when it comes to image and etiquette for interviews and Zoom interviews. So next we'll go during the interview. As a coach, as a career coach, what would you advise?
So during an interview, you need to think about certain things. And the first thing is, every time you're responding to a question, use the STAR method. And STAR stands for situation, task, the action, and the results. So every time they ask you a question, you want to frame your answer in that format. Because what normally happens, I could ask you, tell me of a time when you had difficulties dealing with someone in your team. So you almost don't know, where should I start? What should I say? And you don't want your answer to be so brief. So if you think about, how you're going to frame that response in terms of, this was the situation, this was the task, this was the action that I took, and these were the results. Or other people would call it BAR, B-A-R, some background, the action that you took, and the results. It helps you structure your answer in a way that the other person can understand, so that then you're not saying so many things and not really saying anything at all.
STAR or BAR?
Yes. Yes. Then also, you want to think about good examples. One of the things that can help you pass interviews is showing or demonstrating your abilities using examples. So like now, for example, you've come for a customer service interview, and then you've told me that you're very good at organizing. Sorry, you have very good organizational skills. Can you give me specific examples of things that you have done in the past that demonstrate you have very good organizational skills?
Can I give you an example?
Yes, please.
I organized my child's firstborn birthday.
All right.
And according to me, it was a very organized event. I got feedback from the guests. No, I'm joking. Don't talk about your first child's birthday. That's what
No, but it's actually, you can actually, like fall back on it if there's no other example that you can give. However, when you're giving,
I knew I was coming. However, so that's good, but still not great. See how HR are good, but not great.
But you see how there's a way you can structure the organizing my son's birthday in terms of, so what are some of the things that you did? So that you're not just saying I organized. What did you do? Actually, let's take it. So what exactly did you do? Get into the details.
I ensured that I really put effort in the decoration of the table. I ensured that I came up with a seating plan, so everyone was seated. I thought about it, so they were entertained. And after every meal, I changed the seating position. I then ensured I checked on everyone's allergies or any food specifications they had. I sent them the courses that were going to be served in advance. I also ensured that I had everyone's preferred drink. I asked in advance. I shared the location, the time, ensured at the table they had their name tag, and their name tag was facing the other person. The other person could address them by name. Am I winning or not?
You are winning. No, there's no. There's no however.
Can you go number 1?
We started off at a 5. Now we are nearing 8.5.
Even at the end, I ensured they had a gift to go home. Not only the children had a gift bag, but I had a gift bag, a small little gift to remind them of the event, which was my child's first birthday. And I also sent them a thank you note, and I called to check they got home on time. And I also inquired feedback of the birthday and anything that I can improve on.
Right. Now you see how this, I'm sure even like you yourself can feel this second response than the first one.
Joan is not interviewing me, but if I see her, she's on the panel, the job is her.
Yeah, so most people would give the first response, and that's how you fail an interview, because then you'll just say, I have very good organization skills, I organized my son's birthday, period. But now what makes a good answer is break it down. Now, after you've broken it down, then I can see you pay attention to detail, because you actually, thought about food allergies. I would not have, thought about that. And then, like after the party, even reaching out to the parents to find out, like what was the feedback. So it tells me that you really thought about this thing from beginning, the middle and also to the end, so it brings it out very well. But you see, the first response was was a bit shaky. So thinking about these examples, because only examples can be able to demonstrate whether or not you can perform this particular skill. So you want to think about what are some of the skills that you possess, and do you have specific examples, and think about those examples. Practice saying these examples in in details, because many people fail interviews because they don't give details. They assume that this other person already knows. So like, for example, you can assume that when you tell me that you have good organization skills, I should know what those are, and and I don't know. I want the person to break it down for me. So every time you go for an interview, imagine you are talking to a 10-year-old and you're explaining you're explaining your skills, you're explaining your experiences, you are explaining your industry expertise. That way you're able to give many details. There are many people who failed interviews because they are, they give very scanty responses, and this does not help them during interviews.
Okay, interesting. So practice in front of a mirror with a friend. Right. Someone will give you honest feedback with a family, with a family, a colleague. Practice. It's actually, I didn't think about it that way. It's good when you practice and you're more confident. Okay, then it reduces the nervousness. Right. Okay.
Then the other thing that is important during the interview is forming a connection with the people in the panel, be it a one-on-one interview or a Zoom interview, because if you are not connecting with the person who is interviewing you, you're not going to pass that interview. So like now, for example, we are talking. So for example, I ask you, Catherine, thank you very much for coming for this interview. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Catherine.
Are we connecting?
No, we are not.
Yeah.
There's no eye contact.
What else?
We don't have expression. You're not nodding your head, smiling, acknowledging the person.
Yeah.
Looking interested. Yeah. And I think both me and the person interviewing me should have interest.
Exactly. So there are many people who come for the interview, and there's no connection, either because they're not looking the panelists in the eye, or they start like fidgeting, and they're looking there and they're looking there, and there's no there's no connection. Or especially during a Zoom interview, because you need to look at the light on your laptop. So you are looking this side and you're looking this side, and you probably have your Makenya and you're trying to read from your Makenya, or there's some background noise, or the internet is going up and down, up and down. You see, if there's that disruption, that interview is as good as over.
Okay.
Yeah, because also remember, the person who is interviewing you, they probably have 10 people they need to interview.
I understand.
Yes. So, any small thing might disqualify you. So it's really important that you form a connection. It's easier if it's one-on-one, then you see, like, we are close.
Yes.
So I can be able to read your body language. I can be able to, something can tell me, you should say this, probably you shouldn't say this. So it's very easy to connect when it's one-on-one. It's more difficult to connect if it's a Zoom interview, and that's why at the beginning I was saying, make sure all these things, the internet, the audio, the visual, everything, you eliminate any chance that it's going to come in the way of that interview. Then that way you are comfortable, you are confident, it flows,
and you give yourself a standing chance.
Exactly, to form a connection with the person interviewing you. Remember, people are going to hire people they like. People who radiate, like positive energy. If I get the sense that, like me and you are not going to get along, they're probably not, like give you that job, because then you're probably supposed to work in a team. So if they sense that you are not, someone who cannot gel in a team, if the person who is interviewing you is your hiring manager, and they feel, this person,
connection,
ikoshida, you're not going to get that job. So being likable during the interview is very, very important.
It is. I always say people do business with people they like.
Exactly. Yes.
So be prepared. And for you to be confident, to be alert, to bring your A game that day, rest. Hydrate, sleep. You cannot be having an interview tomorrow at 8 and you sleep at 3 a.m. You see, that's counterproductive. You might have done your research, you might have prepared, and then you're tired.
Right.
So then you're not as alert. Yeah, and be careful. Don't overdose on sugar or coffee. Just try to be. You're bringing your A game. So it is important. If you maybe went for a walk that morning, whatever it is that enables you to calm down and be at your best, so that then the thoughts can run. Have you ever left an interview, had a meeting with someone, and then you're like, I missed that.
Yeah.
Because you are not alert enough, you are not comfortable, you are not prepared and ready. Please avoid those things, because you can do all the other things and then you miss all the little things, and that's it.
Right. And it's also important to note, especially if you're an introvert, you don't want to go for a party or a social engagement before the interview, because as introverts, we recharge when you're alone. So if you go for any social gathering or any social thing before the interview, I can guarantee you
your energy is drained. Completely. Nothing to offer.
Yeah, I know, because I'm one.
I also know that.
Yeah, like you don't have energy at all. So before the interview, like cancel. So if you have an interview on Wednesday, ensure on Tuesday you've cancelled anything that you're going to interact with people, because you see, an introvert, unlike a sanguine gets their energy, by going to parties, interacting with people.
Interactions.
Yes. So for them, I would encourage you, before the interview, go and interact with people, because then you'll be alive.
You're flowing.
Exactly. Because then if you spent the previous day just alone, when you go for the interview as a sanguine, you'll realize your energy is down. So know your personality and know what you need to do before, so that then during the interview you are at your best.
Yes, I think it's very, very important, and sometimes we forget that. It reminded me of, I was going for an interview, industrial area those days, and it's public transport. I don't own a car. And the journey to get there, because the matatu dropped me, I think, in South B, so I had to walk a long distance. By the time umefika hapo umekasirika, umesweat kwa gate, askari anakuambia andika jina yako. So by the time you go for the interview, what saved me is I was 4 hours early.
Thank God.
So I had time to recover, take water, go to the bathroom, refresh. But then you see, I wouldn't have anticipated that. So sometimes, like you're saying, be just ensuring that you give yourself time to be at your best and to calm down, calm your nerves, and so you compose yourself, because it's important.
It is.
You just don't land there, even if it's a Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a minute, my sound, the internet.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
It just throws you off.
Yeah, and I like the point for coming to the interview way earlier, like even if it's 2 hours, you'd better be so early and wait. As opposed to you're running. Just imagine you are like maybe 10 minutes to the interview. You have sweated, you are angry, the watchman has probably abused you, you are, and then you reach like this, it's 5 minutes to the interview. Of course, it's not going to be, like your best, show. Yeah. Then the other thing you want to think about during the interview is the kind of questions you ask at the end.
Okay.
Because they're always going to ask you. So Catherine, this is after the interview.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes. Well, let's go ahead. In your last CSR event, I observed that you went to Mathare and you're very passionate about the youth, especially girls. I would like to just know your plan on this year's CSR, and are you going to focus on the same as a
Wow, but that's so good. But that's so good. Wow, Catherine, who are you? I'm impressed.
I'm even shaking.
No, but actually that was so good.
It good.
It was. Another question. That was excellent.
You think so?
Yes. Another question.
Another question too?
Yeah. So they ask you, do you have any other questions for us? So at the end of the interview, there are so many people, I've had so many people, when we ask them, so Catherine, do you have any questions for us? Then the response is, no, I don't have any questions for you. You cannot not have
a question
for the panelists. Like as much as possible, you want to ask questions, you want to ask good questions. Now, during an interview, the first impression is important. And this happens, to everyone. The first impression of someone really goes a long way. And I'm sure you can attest to that.
That's true.
The very first impression you have of someone, it can either make that relationship or break. So the very first thing, when they ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you answer that question is so important because it's going to set a tone. If you mess up, there are very high chances most of the interview will already have, been messed up. And the last question is also very important because it's the last impression. So just imagine I met you and we hit it off and we talked. And then at the end of our meeting, I tell you something like, something like, like something that like really rubs you the wrong way.
Like, give me an example.
Like maybe I leave and say, no, something like what?
I wanted to just mention, they're scary at your gate. I think next time maybe you could kindly talk to them so they don't ask too many questions to your guests.
Yeah, you see something like, or like now, for example, at the end, I tell you something like, thank you so much for the tea, but I noticed like the milk. Exactly. You get, like, even if we had connected,
it's over.
It's done.
Wait, focus up. You can go drink good tea in your house once you get us.
I know. You see, like you can just say something, and then and just imagine at the end of the interaction, I tell you something like, Catherine, it was so amazing meeting you. I particularly enjoyed our conversation around how you should dress for an interview. You gave very good insights, and I'm really looking forward to have another interaction with you. Honestly, how will that make you feel?
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'll just let my PA know we are giving you a second interview. That's
so good. So that last impression, the last thing, because they're going to remember you by that last thing. So you don't have to be remembered as the person who asked about tea or the person who asked about the guards. You want them to remember you as, Catherine, the lady who asked about the like our CSR project. That is what you want them to remember you by. So the questions that you ask at the end are very, very important because of that last impression. Also very important because it can help you break the ice. So it can help you recover. Remember we said at the beginning you might have lost them.
You're nervous.
Yes.
And anxious.
Yeah, but then now at the end you want to ask questions like, so for this particular position, what does success look like? So you've had me as your PA.
What does a win look like?
Yes, for you to say that I have 5 stars and I'm the employee of the year, what must I do as your PA, for example? You see, that already would tell you that I'm really, really interested in giving this job my
best shot.
Yeah, my best shot. You want to ask questions like, so for that success, how are you going to measure that success? So is it, are you going to measure in terms of how I communicate with my clients? Have any clients, complained? Have I missed some, appointments? Have I double booked my appointment? So it's not, you see how when you're explaining to me about how you're going to measure my success, already you're opening up to me. And already the ice is breaking and we are forming a rapport. Yes. And that is what you want to do. So it can look like, a very simple question, but I am making you drop your guard and open up now to me. So it looks like now I'm the one who is interviewing you and not the other way around. Yeah, so questions like, what does success look like for this role? How are you going to measure this success? Is this a new position or is it a backfill? So was there another PA and now they've left, so I'm coming to backfill, or you've never had,
you've created a new position?
It's a new position, because then if it's a new position, you see how you're building, you're almost doing things from scratch. So it might be very like the job might be very entailing as opposed to if it was a backfill, because
and we are both learning.
Exactly,
you and me.
Exactly. You want to ask questions like, so when am I going to hear, from you? Is it after like 2 weeks? Because that is going to help you when you are thinking about, should I reach out to them and ask? Then when you're writing the email, you can say that during the interview, you had mentioned that you'd get back to me in 2 weeks. So I'm just reaching out to find out, like where...
How far? Where are we? Where do we stand?
Yes. You also want to ask, for this particular position, what are some, what are some skills that are needed for someone to be successful in this particular role? So for every, like for different jobs, there are certain things that someone needs to have for them to be very successful. And these specific things would be specific for particular jobs and for particular industries. So like, for example, if you're working for the government of Kenya, for example, or a parastatal, the skills that you need to succeed would be different from if you're working for Microsoft or Oracle or IBM, for example, because these are 2 totally different industries, different.
The cultures are different. Very different.
Also, like, if you're working for an individual, people are also very different. So what you need to succeed working for person X is not the same thing as working for person Y. So when you ask this question, the person that you ask also opens up to you, because already if they're the hiring manager, already they know, for this particular job, I need someone who is this and that. So when you ask the question, it's going to help them, open up to you. Remember, you want to ask questions that break the ice and foster the connection with the person in the panel. I don't know if you've gone for an interview and the person before you, they were there for like 10 hours and they are laughing and they are, they're chapaying stories. Then when you go for the interview, it's like 10 minutes.
I don't have the job. And you'll be shocked, they might call you.
Yeah, or probably not. Probably the person who was in there for like 3 hours.
Because they had a connection.
Exactly. That connection during an interview might make or break the interview.
Okay.
Yes.
So you need to draw in the person who's interviewing in, get them into your, for lack of a better word, vibe.
Right.
Get them into your space.
Right.
And the earlier you draw them in, the better. I always say it's what you've said, introduction and conclusion before you exit. I always say it's an elevator pitch. You know how fast the elevator leaves ground zero to. So you have a very short time.
Right.
So practice your introduction pitch. Catherine, can you tell us a little more about yourself? Practice it. So it is with a punch, because you have only 5 to 10 seconds to deliver. And also your exit speech. When you're leaving, the conclusion and asking questions, practice it.
Yes.
So then you will be able to give the best in a very short period of time.
Yes.
Yes. And also wordings matter. Phrase your pitch, so then you're very confident, it's powerful. I always call it an elevator pitch. It's a very short time.
It is. And I like what you've said, because once you practice, because so many people freeze when they're asked, Catherine, tell us a little bit about yourself. It just makes people go blank.
It's so many things about you, so many things about Joan. There's just so many aspects. So you need to know which ones are important for this
particular role. And you know, and once you practice, you see how it's the same way when you practice a song. You know, it's very difficult for you to forget. Or when we were learning how to ride a bike, you almost cannot unlearn it.
Yes, there's a muscle memory in this.
Or even like, you know, like driving a car. So the more you practice makes perfect. You're going to reach a point when someone asks, you know, tell me a little bit about yourself. You'll be like, as in you're ready. You're just like ready for that answer, and you want to get there.
Okay. Yes. Same as even business. If you're a business owner and you go for networking events, you have to practice your elevator pitch.
Right.
Because every time, especially for myself who's an introvert, and you're an introvert, you can relate to this. You've met someone, we only spend 10-15 minutes. So how about you with that? Obviously in the environment, what do you do? This is a networking event, it's business.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an elevator pitch, you're like, oh, I'm a doctor, okay. You have to,
you know,
convey I'm a doctor, but in a different way. Say, I change lives by taking care of their smile, one mouth at a time. Then I'll know your dentist, but you've said it in a very interesting, you see, so it's important to practice this thing. Exactly. Then I'll want to know, tell me more about it. It also, it's something practice. I believe in practice.
Yeah, it makes perfect.
Okay.
Then after the interview, remember,
there is after the interview.
Yes.
So I thought we are done after I've wowed you.
No.
Okay.
So there's before, during, and now after the interview. So, you know, you did the interview. It doesn't matter which way it went, because maybe I asked you, tell us a little bit about yourself, and from the first question it was a mess. So the whole interview, you know, the interview was like 5 minutes and that was it. So
it does happen.
It does sometimes.
The best of us.
Yeah, but sometimes if you're lucky to have people in the panel who are very good interviewers, they can tell that, you know, this was just a mishap. Let's give Catherine a chance. So, or I ask you a question and I feel, you know, you have the answer, but you know, you're probably afraid or very shy to bring it out. I'm going to keep probing and probing and probing. But you know, other hiring managers will not have the time to do that. So you know, you always want to go ready. So it doesn't matter which way the interview went. After the interview, you want to always send a thank you note within 24 hours after the interview. So try and find out who was in the panel. Are you able to get their email addresses? And sometimes, you know, you could also send it to, most of the time during the interviews, you'll get an email saying, you know, this is your interview date, time, venue, etc. So if you have no way of getting the email addresses of the people who interviewed you, you can still send it to the recruiter, because then the recruiter or the hiring manager
can forward it to them.
Yes, they can forward, or even have them having that email is also, you know, important. And you're saying, thank you very much for having me for, you know, for this particular interview. I particularly enjoyed our discussion around XYZ. I believe if I was given this job, you know, I'd be able to do 1, 2, 3. And, you know, thank you once again for this opportunity. And I'm really looking forward to hearing back from you. So you see, it doesn't matter which way the interview, you know, like went, but that would help you leave a very good and a professional impression on the people who interviewed you. And if maybe you did not make it for this particular role, if they had another job, they would probably call you back.
You in mind.
Yeah, they'll have you in mind.
So whether you get the job or not, remember always
the thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of the interview, you know, sometimes you might have gone for an interview and then you remember, oh my, like I forgot to say this and that. So when you're sending the thank you email, you can actually, you know, like add on. You know, they probably will read, probably they will not read, there's no harm. There's no harm. Yeah. Also, you could have done some mistakes and then after the interview, it just hits you. I should have probably not have done this, or maybe I should not have asked that question, or maybe. So write down these things so that then when you're going for the next interview, you know, you can do better. And we are discussing also, you could ask for feedback.
I was asking that, but then you mentioned something.
Yes, so you could ask for feedback, and you could, you know, meet very good people in the panel, and they would be able, you know, they'd give you very good feedback, you know, some of the things that you can do to improve. But sometimes many recruiters and hiring managers are going to shy away from giving you feedback, because maybe that feedback, they're afraid of breaking you. Because just imagine, like this interview, you are probably laid off before, and you know, you have a family, and this job was so important for you. Then you've come for the interview, and then you come and ask me, you know, why do you think I did not make it, like, for this particular job? And maybe the truth is that you are probably you know, there was someone, or maybe like you were number 2 during, like during the interview. Or for example, maybe this job needed someone who can travel, so they probably went with a single person and not someone who is married with children, which is almost illegal, because then you're not supposed to.
There's some legalities around that.
Yes. So you see how the hiring manager or recruiter might want to steer clear from answering that question,
because
yes, they probably don't want to break you. Probably saying the truth might not be, you know, might have some legal implications. But then there are some who would would give you that feedback, and if they give you feedback, you know, practice, but don't get so hung up, because I've also seen candidates really insisting, please give me feedback, please, like don't get hung up over it. If they give you feedback, good. If they don't give you feedback, you know, like well and good. But because also you can you know, reflect. If there are certain things that you feel you did not do very well during an interview, make sure you improve on them for next time.
You've already done the hard work, you've already worked hard, studied, and now you can get the service of someone to just coach you to get to the next step in your life. And like you mentioned, like I can imagine now, even Joan still get nervous if she was to go for an interview.
Absolutely.
But then she gets more confident and more confident. Once you know more, once you're equipped, you get more confident.
Yeah.
So I'd like Joan to just tell us a little bit about the services she offers, so that if there's anyone watching, they can reach out and a way to get in touch with her.
All right. So we offer, you know, a number of services. So the first group of services is around the CV. So we have the CV makeover. So, and this is important for clients who, you know that you don't have a very good CV. So we need to overhaul it completely.
I am also one of her clients. So yeah, I'm actually, I am walking the walk.
Yeah. So if you last did your CV in 2000, you see how it might be dusty and rusty, and it needs some panel beating. So you probably want a CV makeover. Then the other CV that is also very important is the ATS CV. So if you're applying to the multinationals or the NGOs, or you're applying somewhere and they ask you to upload a CV, if you upload, you know, like a modern CV, it's not going to pass, because most of these multinationals or these large organizations, they're going to use a software to first shortlist the CVs before it lands the hiring manager's desk. So you need a CV that is ATS compliant. So that is, you know, the other CV that we do. Then there's something called a professional bio. So like if you wanted Catherine to have you on CNN, or, you know, which other BBC, and then they asked you, you know, for your professional bio, you probably don't send them your CV.
No, and I don't tell them I went to school here. It's a long story.
Exactly.
So you can know what to highlight.
Yes. So you just want a professional document that speaks of your value and experience. It's not a CV. It's not a cover letter, it's a professional bio.
Is it a one-pager?
Yes, it is a one-pager.
How many? There's a word limit?
you know, it should just fit, you know, like on one page.
Okay.
You could also like have your photo, you could have your, you know, social media handles, because of course we are living in times when social media is everything. So I'm going to get that professional bio, and I'll check you out on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, everywhere.
LinkedIn is important, by the way, guys.
Yes.
I'm working on it. Watch out for LinkedIn in January.
Then the other service, of course, now is the LinkedIn Revamp. LinkedIn is, as you've said, it's very, very important. You cannot afford not to have a LinkedIn profile if you're looking for a job. So it's the other service. It's the other service that we offer, and it's not only for someone looking for a job. It's also important for businesses. So you know, you need to have a LinkedIn profile for your business and your own personal LinkedIn profile. Then the other service is interview preparation. So today we've talked about some of the things, interviewing skills. So there are people who are very good at what they do, but they're not able to present themselves well during interviews. So we cover that during the interview prep. Then I also do a lot of career, career coaching. So we talk about things like, we want to map out your career. We want to talk about, your career ID. So, what title, defines you and speaks to your value. We want to talk about your social media presence, because you could have a very strong LinkedIn profile, but then I go to your Facebook or Instagram and I'm like, what? Because you see, like nowadays, many recruiters and hiring managers would go to your different platforms.
Oh, they do?
They do snoop. Yeah, so you could have this clean and polished LinkedIn profile. Then when someone goes to your TikTok or to your Instagram, it's a different story.
So let's maintain consistency
across the board. The other service that we offer is career counseling. So throughout your career, you might have gone through something that made your career stall for one reason or the other. So how do you get back into the job market? You could have taken some time off to maybe raise your family, or something happened and then you took some time off and now you're trying to get back, or there are certain things that are hindering you from progressing in your career. It could be imposter syndrome. It could be that you're not able to connect with people in a team. You can't work very well in a team. So everywhere you go, like you find yourself, you're not working well with people, so you end up leaving that organization. So we want to talk about things that are hindering your progression in your career. So, that falls under career counseling. We also have, packages like the layoff package. So when you've been let go by your employer, and actually this package, it's employers who normally get it for their employees.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you let your people go, you don't want to just let your people go without anything.
Even if you're liquidating your business because you're not doing well.
Yes. So you want to invest in them so that then the chances that they get another job are much higher. So, in that layoff package, we try and give, the client like a bouquet of services. So we'll do your CV, cover letter, LinkedIn profile.
So to help them to land another job.
Exactly. That is the whole idea. And if you want, the full list of all the services that we offer, you can go to my Instagram. It's Joan the Career Coach. Click on the link on the bio, and it's going to open up to the website, and you'll see all the services and also the prices.
Good. And from what I like about Joan, she not only offers, it's not one-sided. Even someone who owns their business, it's for employees, employers. I feel like your services benefits both sides. And she mentioned, I'm also there. Getting her services, because I realize, you think that, when you're on the social media space, when you're running your own small business, you don't need these professional documents, but you do need, She brought to the forefront the importance of such things, like how will someone know there's Catherine Karaoke, an image consultant in Kenya?
Right.
Putting yourself out there, and sometimes, like you said, you're qualified.
Yes.
You are a person with integrity. You do your job well, but you don't put yourself out there. How will someone know?
Right. And we are living in times, if you're not on social media, you don't exist. You almost do not exist. So there are people who might be looking out for you, but you have a very good LinkedIn profile. but then it's in the dark because like you're not putting yourself out there. So there are people and there are organizations and there are multinationals and there are very well-funded organizations that might be looking for someone who fits your exact criteria, but they never know about you because then you're not anywhere. So be bold, and as you're saying, be courageous enough to put yourself out there, because then we are living in those times. I think it's COVID that really propelled us, because everything went online. If you're looking for shoes and someone to hire, or like work, or you're looking for a plumber, everything is online. It's online. It's online. Yeah.
And also, like you said, be proud of what you do. It's a struggle some people have, and also coming from our African background of being humble, so you never say what you do, so it's hard for you to come out and portray what you do on social media. So your life work becomes something sort of very different. It's a secret, So, and on that note, I'm going to be offering a few services next year, and I'll reach out to you guys on interviewing etiquette, how to dress for an interview. All these things come to play. We said hard and soft skills. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much, Joan.
Thank you very much. I had a blast.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And thank you guys, because without you guys asking questions and coming to my DM asking for such kind of videos, I wouldn't have reached out to Joan to bring her on the platform. I hope you've learned, and make sure to reach out if you need her services. Until next time, guys, bye bye. And follow Joan on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
YouTube handle?
Joan Tho. It's actually on the link on my Instagram bio. All these websites are actually there.
Make sure you follow on social media, on Instagram and on YouTube, and comment. That's the least you could do. Even if you can't afford the services for now, just you're doing a good job, you're learning for you. It really encourages us.
Yeah.
For the ones who are critical on social media. Thank you very much, and until next time, guys.